There is a video you have never watched all the way through. It exists. It always will. Somewhere on a server in Doha, the full 90 minutes plus extra time of December 18th, 2022 sits perfectly preserved. The greatest World Cup final ever played. 3 goals you scored. A hat-trick in the biggest game in football. A performance so extraordinary that even the man who beat you said what he did in the final was insane. You have never watched it back. Not once. Because the video doesn't end with you lifting the trophy. But tonight, July 19th, 2026, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. That changes. Keep that video in mind, because by the end of tonight, you're finally going to be able to watch it. Chapter 1, Bondy. You are 6 years old. The pitch at AS Bondy has lines that need repainting. The goals are real, but the nets are thin. The suburb northeast of Paris that you grew up in is not the France the postcards sell. It is the France that produces things quietly, without ceremony, without anyone from the outside paying attention until it is too late to ignore. Your father coaches here, has coached here for years. He is the one who put the ball at your feet, who watched you do things with it at 6 that most players cannot do at 16, and who said nothing dramatic about it because he was not the type for drama. Your mother is Algerian, your father Cameroonian. You were born in Paris on December 20th, 1998, 6 months after France lifted the World Cup on home soil for the first time. You will not remember watching it. You don't need to. It is already inside you before you understand what it means. There is something about that timeline you think about sometimes. France won the World Cup, then you were born, as if the universe was making a point. Chapter 2. The thing nobody warned you about. You are 14. Real Madrid invite you to train with their youth teams. You go to London and play for Chelsea's academy in a trial match. Every major club in Europe has seen what you can do and wants to own a piece of it. You sign with Monaco at 14 because something about the path felt right, felt earned. At 16 years and 347 days, you make your professional debut, the youngest player in Monaco's history. You break a record set by Thierry Henry, a man whose poster was on your wall in Bondy. Nobody tells you what is coming next. Nobody warns you that the game you fell in love with on a faded pitch in a Paris suburb is about to ask you for something you cannot fully understand yet. You will understand it later. You will understand it on a pitch in Qatar, with your knees on the ground and a trophy you didn't win 4 feet away from you. But first, Russia. Chapter 3, 2018. You are 19 years old. You were not alive the last time France won this tournament. That is not a metaphor. That is a fact. France won in 1998. You were born 6 months later. The entire previous chapter of French football history existed before you drew your first breath. And now you are in it, living inside something you were born too late to remember and just in time to continue. Group stage. France versus Peru. Yekaterinburg. You score in the 34th minute. At 19 years and 183 days old, you become the youngest French player ever to score at a World Cup. You shrug. Literally. Cameras catch you shrugging after the goal and it becomes one of the most reproduced images of the tournament. You were not performing. You were just not surprised. Not because you were arrogant, because somewhere in you, this always felt inevitable. Round of 16. Argentina. Kazan. This is the game where the world stops arguing about potential and starts accepting reality. You are not a prospect. You are not a wonder kid. You are the most terrifying 19-year-old in the history of this sport. France wins. Argentina goes home. A young Lionel Messi walks off that pitch having lost to you and says nothing. He will remember it. You both will. Final. Moscow. Luzhniki Stadium, Croatia. You score in the 65th minute. France win 4-2. At 19 years old, you become only the second teenager in history to score in a World Cup final. The first was Pelé, 1958. Pelé and Mbappé. That is the company. That is the sentence written about you at 19. You think, this is the beginning. You have no idea what the beginning is actually leading to. Chapter 4, Qatar. 4 years pass. You become the best player on the planet. PSG. Then Real Madrid. Records at every club. La Liga top scorer. Golden Boot. The kind of numbers that make football statisticians stop mid-sentence. And then Qatar. 2022, third World Cup final in history, where you are personally involved before age 24. You already know how this ends. The world already knows how this ends. But do you know what actually happened on that pitch? The part that still doesn't make sense? You are losing 2-0 with 10 minutes left. The game is gone. Your tournament is over. And then, in 97 seconds, you score twice. A penalty, then a volley so perfectly struck that the Argentinian goalkeeper doesn't move. Not because he isn't good enough, Because the ball is in the net before his nervous system has processed where it started. 3-3. Extra time. Argentina score again. You score again. 3-3 again. Penalties. You score yours. Perfectly. You do your job. And then, it doesn't matter. Because Kingsley Coman's penalty is saved. Aurelien Tchouameni's hits the post. France lose. You score a hat-trick in a World Cup final. The first player to do so since Jeff Hurst in 1966. You score 4 goals in finals across 2 tournaments. The most in World Cup final history. By any player ever. And you don't win. You sit on the Lusail Stadium pitch for a long time afterward. The Argentine goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez comes to you. He puts his hand on the back of your neck. He lifts you to your feet. You don't cry. Not because it doesn't hurt. Because the tears won't come. You will say this later in an interview. I was just stunned. If I could have cried, I wouldn't have held back. Your president calls. Emmanuel Macron finds you in the dressing room. He says, "You're only 24. You'll be back." You nod. But here's what nobody knows. The thing you have never said publicly. The thought that sits in the back of your head from that night forward. What if back isn't enough? What if you go back and it happens again? Keep that question. It matters tonight. Chapter 5. The Weight of the Armband. You are 27. The captaincy of France is not a reward. It is a transfer of weight. Zidane carried it. Platini carried it. Henry carried it. Each of them added something to the shirt and left something behind when they were done. A ghost of expectation that every captain inherits without being told. You know this. You have known it since Bondy. Didier Deschamps names the 26-man squad for the 2026 World Cup on May 14th. He announces it on French television. The squad around you: Dembélé, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner; Saliba, Tchouameni, the brilliant young Zaire Emery, a generation of players who were children when you were winning your first World Cup. They call you captain. They look to you in the tunnel, and you think about Qatar. You think about it every single day. There is one more thing, something nobody has written about yet, something that is going to matter in about 2 hours. You will understand it when we get there. Chapter 6. The Tournament. Group Stage. Group 1. New York, Philadelphia, Boston. June 16th. France versus Senegal. MetLife Stadium. The same stadium where tonight's final will be played. Senegal against France has historic weight in World Cup history, and not the comfortable kind for Les Bleus. But this is a different team, a different captain. You score. Dembélé scores. France win. Al Jazeera. June 22nd. Philadelphia, Iraq. Clinical controlled. Convincing. June 26th. Boston, Norway. Erling Haaland and everything that comes with him. He scores. Of course he does. But you score twice. France qualify top of the group. Round of 32. A team that defends with their entire soul and dares you to break them. You break them in the 79th minute with a pass. Not a goal. A pass. That nobody in the stadium sees coming. The right man in the right place because you found him before he knew he was open. Quarterfinal. Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Down 1-0 at halftime. The dressing room is the quietest it has been all tournament. You stand up. You don't give a speech. You are not a speech person. You say one sentence. We've been here before. You know how it ends. France win 3-1. Semifinal. Dallas. AT&T Stadium. The night before you cannot sleep. This is not new. You never sleep well before the big ones. But tonight is different. Tonight you are lying in a hotel room in Texas thinking about the thing you still haven't told anyone. The thought from the floor of Lusail Stadium in 2022. What if back isn't enough? You pick up your phone at 2 a.m. You don't call anyone. You open the folder on your phone where you keep things. Notes, voice memos, things you've recorded to yourself at odd hours. There is an audio file from December 19th, 2022, the morning after Qatar. You recorded it at 4 a.m. in your hotel room in Doha. You have never played it back, not once. Not until right now. Semi-final. France win 2-0. You are going to the final. Again. Chapter 7. July 19th. MetLife Stadium. East Rutherford, New Jersey. 82,500 people. It is the most watched sporting event on Earth. The entire planet, for 90 minutes looking at the same thing. You are in the tunnel. Blue kit. Number 10. Captain's armband. The thing about the armband, the weight nobody tells you about until you're wearing it, is that it doesn't just represent you. It represents every version of France that has stood in a tunnel before this one. 1998, 2006, 2018, 2022. It represents a man in Bondy who put a ball at your feet when you were 6 years old and never once told you that you couldn't. The referee signals. You walk out. The final is not clean. Great finals never are. They score first. 12 minutes. A set piece that your goalkeeper gets a hand to, but cannot stop. 1-0. The crowd makes a sound you have heard before. The sound of 82,500 people recalculating. You don't recalculate. You have been 2-0 down in a World Cup final before. One goal is nothing. One goal is an invitation. 35th minute. Dembele. The man who won the Ballon d'Or this year and plays every final like it is the only thing that has ever mattered. He finds space that shouldn't exist and equalizes with his left foot. 1-1 at halftime. Second half. 65th minute. You get the ball 25 yards out, the same minute you scored in Moscow in 2018. The same minute that made you the second teenager after Pelé to score in a World Cup final. You do not think about that. You do not think about anything. You shoot. The ball moves through the air the way a ball moves when the person who struck it has spent 21 years becoming exactly this. It does not matter where the goalkeeper goes. It was always going in 2-1. But this is the 2026 World Cup final. And this story doesn't end cleanly. 81st minute. They equalize. 2-2. Extra time. Your legs are burning in a way that is no longer about lactic acid. This is something older. Something that goes back to a pitch in Bondy with thin nets and faded lines. The part of you that was built before anyone knew your name. You have 30 more minutes. You spend everything you have left. 107th minute. The ball comes to you on the left side. One defender between you and the goal. You have beaten this kind of defender 10,000 times. In training, in League One, in the Champions League, in 2 previous World Cups. But this time is different, and you know it. This time, the thought that has lived in the back of your head since the floor of Lusail Stadium in December 2022 is right there with you. What if back isn't enough, and something happens that you will try to explain in interviews for years afterward and never quite find the words for? The thought disappears. Not because you pushed it away, because it answers itself. This is what back looks like. You go past the defender, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, you score. Chapter 8. The Whistle. 3-2. You hear the final whistle from across the pitch. You stand completely still, not because you've been here before and know what to do, because this time is so completely different from every other time that your body doesn't have a reference point. You won in 2018, but you were 19 and it was fast and enormous and mostly a blur. You lost in 2022 and stayed on the pitch floor while the world celebrated around you. This is neither of those things. This is the third time. This is the one that was supposed to happen and almost didn't and then almost didn't again. Chouameni finds you first. The man whose penalty hit the post in Qatar. He doesn't say anything. He just holds you. Both of you know what this repairs. Deschamps, the coach who has been here since before you were a professional, the man who won this tournament as a player in 1998 and has now won it as a manager twice, finds you on the pitch. He is crying. You have never seen him cry. He says one thing. You will carry this now. You know what he means. The shirt, the history, the weight that gets passed from generation to generation. You take it. Chapter 9, the video. Later, much later, the dressing room, silver confetti, champagne, someone playing French music from a speaker. Zaire Emery, who was a child when you won your first World Cup, is calling his family in tears. Dembele is holding the trophy like he's afraid it'll disappear. You sit with your back against the wall. You open your phone. You find the video. The full match, December 18th, 2022, Qatar. The one you've never watched. The greatest individual performance in World Cup final history that ended with you on the grass and a trophy you didn't lift. You press play. You watch all of it. For the first time. And this time, for the first time, it doesn't end with the wrong team lifting the trophy, because you are watching it now as a 2-time World Cup winner, as a man who went back, the way your president told you you would, the way your father never doubted you would, the way the kid in Bondy, with the ball at his feet at 6 years old, somehow, impossibly, always knew you would. The tears that wouldn't come in 2022 come now. You let them. Outside, somewhere in France, it is early morning. In a suburb northeast of Paris, on a pitch with thin nets and faded lines, a 6-year-old is kicking a ball against a wall. He doesn't know your name yet. He will.